Greetings students, welcome to this lesson. My name is Iram Kachwa. I'm a lecturer at Ehlanzeni TVET College at Mlumati campus, teaching under the course Information Technology and Computer Science, looking today at Systems Analysis and Design, specifically level 4. So if you have seen the previous lessons, we've been busy dealing with gathering information and analyzing information. So now we are going to come to the part of how do we input and output the gathered information. So today's lesson is going to be based on the topic designing computer systems, inputs and outputs. Remember, whenever you're designing a system, now we have passed on the collection of data, we've passed on the analysis of data. We're coming to the part of the design. So we are going to look at the input and output principles, specifically on that. Why? Because when we design a system, our focus is the interaction between the person who's using the system and the computer, which is the machine. Or I've said previously that a system is not always computerized. That is why we're going to look at other interaction of systems with systems. So this is the topic today. Now we are going to look at what is a user interface. When we are looking at an interface, if we can look something that you're going to look at, an interaction between a user and a computer. Specifically, remember, when we are building a system, it's going to be computerized because we are going to involve programmers. There must be computers to control a system. Even if you are logging into your company using your fingerprint or your iris or whatever, there must be a place that this thing is reported to or recorded to. That is why it comes to a computer. There is a term that we usually use with interaction between a user and a computer, which we call a human interaction. So human-computer interaction, which are abbreviated as HCI. Why am I bringing this with the interactions? Because someone doesn't understand that when we are dealing with human-computer interaction, we are talking about user interfaces. How does a person communicate with a computer? Okay? It's something to be noted as we are dealing with this. Why am I bringing this human-computer interaction? They usually ask you, define human-computer interaction, which is the interaction between a computer and the user. But now, because they've even abbreviated it as SCI, it seems like a new term, but it's simply interaction between a user and a computer. Remember, when we are teaching these lessons and as we are taking notes and everything, we are keeping in mind that you will be questioned upon this. You have to write an exam to show your understanding. What is a system interface? We're looking at the user interface. Now we are looking at a system interface. This is a system interacting with another system. Okay, when you're designing a system, you are going to have your user interface where a user is going to interact with that computer system. Now, there are things that does not involve you as a user, because as a user you can sit down, you can type, you can scan, you can do all these things. But now there are times that whatever that we have collected or we have presented in a computer needs to be output using a different device. So when a laptop, for example, communicates with a printer to print out all the information that we have collected, whatever that we have created, we are saying it's an interaction between a system and a system, because we are having different softwares. We have a printing software, we have a software in a computer. You don't have to take a paper and take it to the printer and you are typing something to print out. You are not involved as a user. Only the systems that are communicating using different gadgets or hardware equipment. So now, everything is tapped on, you press print. You don't stand up and go to the printer and say, you need to print out the document. The computer knows that I have to print this document via this printer which is set up, and how is it presented. You are not involved in this one. That is why we are looking at the system interacting with another system, which is system interface. Okay, we are coming at the applications of a user interface. In most cases, when you are dealing with system analysis and designs, students have the mentality that it's only about IT. It's all for IT students. It has to do with analysts and programmers and users of computers, the end users, and so on. It has to do with everyone around us. Technology is everywhere, and we need to understand that wherever we are going, at home, at work, as much as we are busy, without touching the computer, we are interacting with interfaces. For example, we have the general one, a keyboard and a mouse. We use a keyboard and a mouse to type information into the computer. But you cannot just go to the computer and sit down and start typing. You're not going to see anything unless there is a software relevant for that. So that's part of the interface that you're going to look at, which is at the screen of your computer. Coming to the next one, we have touch screens. Most of the cell phones that are used today, they use a touching sensor. So if you can see, we have moved out of a computer. Now you have a gadget at your hand. When you are touching the gadget, you are inputting information on your phone, and that cell phone, that screen that you are looking at, it is your user interface now. It means you are interacting with that screen. Whatever that you are doing, it's an interaction between you, the user, and the interface that you are holding at hand. We have another application, cars. If you can look at the technology as much as it is moving now, many cars that are manufactured today, besides looking at the electric cars, we look at the cars with built-in navigation systems. Just get inside the car, you start selecting where you are going, setting all the areas and everything. That is an interaction between you. You are not touching your cell phone, you are not touching your laptop. Now you are sitting inside a car. But you need to interact with these systems, which is built inside a car. So it's one of the applications that you're looking at user interfaces. Why we're saying it's a user, you are involved, you need to select. There are touch screen radios inside a car. Now you start selecting your music within the car. You can collect your cell phone, but you cannot touch your cell phone. You can start touching at the screen of your car. Of course, we are talking about technology moving on. You can receive a call inside your car without touching your cell phone. It's a built-in system. So that's one of the applications of user interfaces. Sitting in the car, we are not going to have a problem with all the traffic cops around there as you are moving throughout. Now a traffic officer has to stop you saying that, why are you receiving a cell phone? Because there is a hand up next to your ear and a gadget. But now we are looking at the interfaces, the way they are moving forward. You can just simply press a button, you start talking. People may assume that maybe there is something wrong, you are stressed, you are crazy, or so on, until they come closer to understand, oh, it's an interaction between a person and a system. Okay? We have remote controls at home. It's a general one. I always tell my students that you don't have to have a laptop in order to understand a user interface. Now, we are just watching TV, having a remote in your hand. In order to change that channel, you need to press, you need to interact with the remote in your hand. It becomes your interface. Now, when you press the remote, you cannot press the remote and stand up, you go through the television again, you start changing. No. Since the remote is in your hand, immediately you start interacting with it. It's an application of an interface. We have voice recognition, which I usually tell my students that most of the time technology is very good, but be mindful of one thing. It does have its setbacks. Here comes a voice recognition. You knock at the door. Instead of knocking these days, you say, okay, open. And it starts recording your specific voice. Tomorrow you wake up with flu. You are locked inside your house. Because we have open. You cannot even speak out. So it means you are locked. Why? Because the interaction between the system inside your house, it does know your voice. It needs to hear open in order to open. But now you cannot even say the word. There is no one in the house to say, come and say open to the door. It doesn't. Its technology is good, but it's having a problem. The same thing. We look at interactions that needs to be interacted with a remote. You have your garage doors. It needs a remote to open. You are inside the car, you are about to leave, here comes load shedding. Only to find out that your garage does not have a charger. It means you have to sit inside the car. I'm not sure if 2 hours or 4 hours, because you are already locked inside, unless you have to use a manual one. If it's the one that you have used automatically, you need to stay inside the house. Those are parts of the setback with user interfaces. That is why on this part, it is much important to focus on the advantages and disadvantages of the user interfaces. We have biometric scanners. These are the things that we use research. They are very dangerous and very good, of course, because in order to open my phone, I can use my only identified fingerprint. But here comes someone stealing my phone only to find, oh, it needs a fingerprint. There are possibility of this person coming back to get my fingerprint. I'm not sure if it's going to cut the finger on, or it's going to take me along in order to open the phone. So those are the disadvantages that we are looking at. But there is a nice communication with the interface just by merely looking at your phone. Face recognition. It takes your information. You're not even touching, but it is an interaction between my face and the cell phone. Now, it happens that I get a scar or whatever that is happening, they have to bandage my face. I forgot to change that one. I'm even stressed. I don't even remember the code. My phone is going to be locked because it can't even recognize my face. So those are the interactions. It is a requirement. Immediately say face recognition. It has to recognize my pupil. Then I have to look it very sharp. The day that I have problem with eyes, I'm not going to be let in. Why? Because of that. So those are the things that we are saying. They are biometric scanners. And mind you, we are living in the fourth industrial revolution. These things are existing and we are using them. As a system analyst, it's important to move along with the technology, because you cannot say that I think we need to use keys in order to lock these buildings. We need what. You know, people are not consistent. This time around, we said, okay, we're going to use a fingerprint to clock in to work and out. People say, I think we need to sign the book. And only to find that 5 days, people didn't even sign the book. So people need to move with technology, because as much as we forget to do things manually, we'll forget to do them. But what I like about this one is that it will force you to do it, because immediately you are in at the door, you need to use your fingerprint in order to clock in. So that can record that at least we saw this person at work. Unlike a person coming in for 5 days being at work, but looking at the records, the person was absent throughout the week. Even if you said, you saw me, I was here. But it doesn't make sense. Why? Because there was no user interface that we are using currently. Because manually, we are interacting with text. I have to write down. Someone has to take this and verify. So that is why we are moving away from the text interfaces into the user interface, which is technologically. Okay? Those are the applications. Now we look at the application of a system interface. These ones are automated. I've made an example between a laptop and a printer. Why do we need automated systems? It's because a person cannot do everything that a machine is supposed to do. People usually, in those olden days, were against a washing machine. We're like, why? It has to replace people. I'm not going to have someone to help me, and so on. But mind you, these days, most of the households have washing machines. And of course, they do have house helpers. Why? Because we have tend to understand that things when done automatically, in most cases, there are less or no more mistakes. They are there because it's a machine, of course. If there is no electricity, it's not going to run. If there are stains that are serious, it's not going to be removed. So the automated system does not allow you to move around and checking what is happening. For example, a simple example, a communication between a remote and a TV. If you change to channel 121, we are not expecting to go back and say channel 121. And you don't have to move, because this system of a remote, the interface that you are having, it will communicate with that one of a decoder. And the decoder will take a signal back. There's something that I like about one of the lessons that I've seen, that there are waves that will communicate throughout, so that there is that communication system communicating with another system. So it is automated. You don't have to do anything. Even if you do it, you are not in the powers of controlling it. Like I've said, in most cases, if you can print out a page, making it a landscape, by the time you run to the machine to cancel, one of the pages will come out being a landscape. You cannot change it now, because this computer is programmed to say that now they've sent it out. I know that I have to take it as it is there with communication signals, and that printer knows that this page needs to be a landscape. Now we bring out a landscape. So those are systems communicating with another system. We have report generation machines. remember, you are the analyst. You are building a system. You are coming to this company. You find that they are printing different reports. There is a kind of paper that I've realized they call a batch printer. It prints something kind of like, let's take an example of a birth certificate. There are those like punches on that side of a paper. And of course, there is a paper where they have to print maybe just a normal page. So if you can check, the reports that are going to come out are not going to be the same. Same thing when they're printing a smart card. We are expecting that it must be a card because it's a smart card. So when they generate the reports, if I'm designing a birth certificate or a certificate, then I'm expecting that when I send it, this printer or this machine has to bring out that specific paper. I'm not expecting that I'm designing an ID and now I have to put all those cards in order to print a smart card. All of a sudden, here comes my face with the size of a smart card on a printer of a certificate. Why? Because this machine needs to be understood. Why was it printing like that? Why do we need to change from this one? And why did we have to change from a normal ID book to a smart card? You can answer that as an analyst since you are going to make a research. Of course. Okay, so we're on the applications, and now after the report generation of that one, we are coming to designing your user interface with user involvement. Okay, we are an analyst. You want to design a nice interface. Most of the time, I encourage students that when you design your interface, immediately when you look at it, it has to say that use me. Not like, what is all this text? It has to be interactive. It has to be attractive. For example, first of all, with user involvement, you are the analyst, you did programming, you have a lot of codes in your head, you understand many different processes, but now there is something very critical. A user interface needs to be designed. And you are not going to use that interface, but a certain user has to interact with that computer. You bring back the user and say, we want to design something that is suitable for you, that will be able to use, something that will be comfortable to use also. That is why when we are involving the user, we look at the fact of focus on the user. Why do we need to focus on the user? Okay, I'm an analyst, I understand all the processes. This one is an end user, does not even understand, for example, a radio button. The user finds out you've used a radio button, you've used a checkbox. So when you involve the user, you'll be able to differentiate that the reason you have used a radio button is because most of your users or most of the students, they usually tick many things where are unnecessary. We find out in one of the cases in a gender, a person ticked male and female. So we thought, no, we need to involve the user. How do we minimize errors? Let's change it to a radio box. When you select this one, it's going to be there. When you change it, it does uncheck the other one. So that is why we focus on the user. Now we come to the usability. How friendly is the system? Can the user be able to sit down and say, okay, I'll be able to do this and this without even struggling to read what is on the user interface? That is why all your interfaces must be usable, must be easy to use without struggling or without calling someone to come and assist. We look at the user interaction approach. Now, how does the user usually interact with the current system? In most cases, the reason they've started with a touch screen is because we've been using cell phones and we've been pressing buttons. So by moving from pressing a button, which we are used to using our fingers, they said, okay, we are going to touch screen now. When we are touching, you're also using your finger. That is why when you start text, when you type a text, even if in a text screen, a person is going to select properly. The same thing as a person start typing using buttons. So the shift from a screen to a button or from a button to a screen was familiar. It means a user was involved that, will you be able to touch the screen? Said yes. But I'm now starting to type. Said yes, I'm used to typing with buttons. I can touch a screen and type. They say, okay, let's move from this part to the other one. Why? Whenever you're designing an interface, we have the user in mind. Okay? Now you analyze You are having your user interface, you are having your users here. You are saying, I'm going to change everything here. Now we have to analyze, are they going to be comfortable? Is this the only user who understands this, or do I need another user? After analyzing the information that we have, after comparing what we currently have and what we are proposing to have in our design, we come to the phase of designing. We have analyzed the information, we have come out with a conclusion. Now we are designing our interface. After designing, you evaluate. You come and check out, okay, we have decided to bring a new system. We just want to see how to interact. This time around, we are not going to type or touch. We are going to talk to the system. I've just realized that most of the students, those who did Office Start, they'll tell you that I didn't do the audio because I didn't hear what they were saying in certain words. So now it comes to say that if I'm going to talk to the system, the vocabulary might be a problem because the computer might hear me pronouncing otherwise and it'll bring out that word. So we are going to evaluate, is this interface working for us? You check it, you find that, nah, I think there are glitches. It comes back to say that you repeat the steps, you go back to analysis, including the user again. The first part that we did is not working. We are coming to the second one. These are the things that we are going to change. So we usually repeat this process until you come out with a suitable user interface, which any user, remember, we don't have to be specific of that user. Because today you might find that user, tomorrow is another user. A cell phone was tested and people approved that, okay, we can touch screen, is okay, and they approve it. We are all using touch screen. Someone said a finger recognition is okay because if you just open with your fingerprint, it's safe because that's the only fingerprint. There is no other one because we are all unique. And someone said, I think it's working. Actually, it can work. Let's take it to cell phones, which is our user interface. Someone said, nah, you can even take it further to all the companies. No one is going to be absent without a reason. Everyone's going to report because we all know that without my fingerprint, obviously I'm absent. They don't have to ask who's here, who's not here, why didn't you sign the register? We all know that that person is absent. So those are the importance as we are designing your user interface. Now we have a specific user interface, we used to call it graphical user interface, GUI. If you can hear me, graphically, it uses graphics, pictures, animation, and so on. Why do we bring that? It says that interaction between the user and the computer using graphical controls. Remember, if we can just say, this is your name. We know this simple, a text, okay? We say a car, it's a text. Okay, now I'm saying I'm going to design an interface for a car wash. All of a sudden, I just write a car wash, and a person comes and said, okay, car wash, car wash. Someone has to think about that. But now, immediately to bring a picture of a car, okay? Don't mind my drawing. This is my car actually. So you don't have to talk about the car. That why doesn't it have a door also on? Is the latest car? Yes. Just have to speak to it. Already we are inside. We are moving with technology. So now we have something like this. On the interface, remember it's the interface. So what's going to happen? We have something maybe splashing water inside. Okay, before someone reads car wash, oh, okay. And now we start to think, is it automatic or what? Okay, that's the interface that we are desiring to see. It has to speak to us. It has to attract us. So that brings us to graphic user interface. We are coming to the guidelines. How do we design a user-friendly? Remember, everything has to do with the user. User-friendly. I want to interact with it. I want to like this interface. I like my phone. No wonder most of the cell phones have some pictures because people want to look at, okay, I like this picture. I'm going to use it as my interface. So because we want to see pictures, we want to see graphics all around. We are going to talk about visible controls. In programming, like I said, we are going to talk about this because we design user interface using a software in programming. There are visible controls. I'm going to come back to this radio button. When a radio button is not selected, it's kind of blurry. It doesn't look visible. So the more you bring it smaller, people won't even see that it's a radio button. So the visible control, you have to bring it to see that even if it's blurry, this is a radio button. It must be a little bit bigger, and I must be able to see it's a radio button. Other visible controls, there is this control of a text box. Just going to introduce something today, which as an analyst, you're going to use it better to improve your programming. We have a text box. A text box does allow us to write anything, you can write a name or whatever. So we have the next text box. So how do you make this user-friendly and visible? If it says name, you can make this to be plain. In other words, no one can type here until they type their name. Immediately you start typing, it pops out to be more visible. That's how we can improve to say that, okay, after typing my name, then there is a space for surname. But when do we use this to control errors? Remember, people can type anything what they think of. For example, you'll ask a person, what is your gender? A person selects male. The next thing on the text box, the next thing that comes says that, okay, what is your marital status? The person selected male, is it? Marital status, okay, I'm single. Here comes again, okay, select your title, Mr., Miss, or Mrs. Here comes the person selecting Mrs., and you're like, okay, Mrs. Mr., Mrs., gender, female, it doesn't match. Then we have to use the controls. So with all this I've been explaining throughout, this helps with error handling. So I'm just going to pop out two different interfaces and see which one is user-friendly, which one is not. This one, if you can see, it's all about text, surname, ID number, full names. If they say I must fill this one, I'm telling you, some of the things I'm going to jump because it's not even desirable. Here comes a user-friendly graphic user interface. Okay, the title says fit and fun. It's all about gyms. They give you a notice board to say that don't stop when you are tired, stop when you are done. Is it? You want to lose the faith, keep on running, you want to lose something. So it does encourage you by merely looking. Okay, that's what today you need to know. There is a graphic user interface that is desirable to the user and the one that you all don't want to use. Bear in mind, create a proper user interface that every user will want to use. So that's all about user inputs and outputs. For more information, we have our college website, which is www.ehlanzenicollege.co.za. You are welcome to bring any information for clarity, more on inputs and outputs, more on interface design. We'll be there to interact with you so that you can get more clarity, even for examination purposes. You can go through Twitter. And that's all for today on my lesson. It's Ms. Mkacha in front of you. We are still saying that as we've been quarantined, stay safe. And of course, thank you.